You know that one neighbor who thinks the whole world revolves around them? Yeah, mine had her own orbit. And unfortunately, my house sat right in the middle of it. She called herself the unofficial HOA president. Everyone else called her something else entirely. Karen. It started with petty complaints. Grass too long, trash bin too early, fence too high. But it didn't stop there. Soon, Karen began breaking into my house. I caught her on camera, twice. She said she was inspecting property compliance. I said nothing. I just smiled, because I had already planned my revenge. And let's just say, the next time she tried to barge in, she left with blue hands and a blue face to match her personality. I moved into the neighborhood 2 years ago, thinking I'd finally found peace. A quiet cul-de-sac, trimmed lawns, friendly smiles. The kind of place where you could smell freshly baked cookies from across the street. That illusion lasted a week, until I met Karen. Karen wasn't on the HOA board officially. She didn't need to be. She was the HOA. Every morning she'd patrol the street, clipboard in one hand, coffee in the other, inspecting everyone's lawn like a military sergeant. The first time she approached me, she introduced herself with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm Karen. I just like to keep things orderly around here." That should have been my first warning. Within a week, I received my first violation notice. My crime? Hanging a wind chime that disrupted the peaceful atmosphere. The letter wasn't from the actual HOA. It was handwritten, signed Neighborhood Standards Committee. I soon realized Karen was that committee. I laughed it off at first. Everyone warned me not to take her seriously. "She's harmless," one neighbor said. "Just ignore her." But ignoring Karen was like ignoring a wasp that's already in your car. The next few months were constant nitpicking. Garbage cans out 5 minutes early, improper paint hue on my door, garden hose left visible. She even took pictures. Not just of my house, but through my windows. That's when it turned creepy. The first time she entered my backyard, she claimed she was checking for illegal modifications. I caught her red-handed, literally stepping over my fence with a camera. I confronted her, but she just smiled and said, "It's HOA business. You wouldn't understand." Something inside me snapped that day. I filed a police report. Nothing happened. I contacted the actual HOA. They said she wasn't part of their staff and that they'd handle it internally. They never did. Weeks passed, and Karen's obsession grew. I started noticing small things moved in my yard, a garden light tilted, a flower pot missing, a gate slightly open. I thought I was paranoid, until I checked my security footage. There she was, Karen. At 6 a.m., sneaking into my porch in a robe, with gloves on. She had a key to my front door. I don't know how she got it. Maybe from the old owner, maybe a copied lock. But the idea of someone casually walking into my home like it was a store made my blood boil. That night, I couldn't sleep. My thoughts raced between rage and disbelief. Who does that? Who breaks into someone's house to check for compliance? That's when the idea came to me. Revenge, quiet, poetic, harmless, but unforgettable. I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted her to feel the same violation I felt every time she stepped into my home. So, I started planning. I knew Karen's pattern. She always came early morning. Right after sunrise, usually around 6 a.m., when she thought no one was watching. She always used the same side door, the one near my garage. Perfect. I bought a can of ultra-dense blue pigment paint, the kind used for industrial marking. Stains instantly, impossible to remove without several scrubs, and it glows faintly under UV light. Over the next few days, I rigged a small setup near the doorframe. A thin pouch of the pigment attached to a trigger wire. Nothing dangerous, just messy. If Karen opened the door, she'd get a surprise shower. It was my version of poetic justice, colorful karma. I set up hidden cameras, synced with motion alerts, and waited. The next morning, I was up before dawn, sipping coffee with my camera feed open. 6:12 a.m., movement detected. My heart raced. The door handle moved. And there she was, Karen, in her pastel robe, gloves on, eyes darting. She turned the handle, and splash. A thick wave of cobalt blue paint exploded all over her face, hair, and clothes. She screamed like she'd been electrocuted. The sound echoed through the street. Birds scattered. I didn't move. I just watched, sipping my coffee. Karen stumbled back, dripping blue, shouting words that didn't exist in the HOA manual. I watched her run across the yard, leaving blue footprints behind her like a cartoon crime scene. The footage was gold. Pure gold. I didn't share it online. Not yet. But I sent it directly to the HOA board, along with a polite email. If this woman steps on my property again, I'll consider it trespassing. Here's the proof. 2 hours later, they called me. Not to apologize. Oh, no. To ask me to delete the footage. Apparently, Karen's husband was on the city council. But here's the twist. I didn't delete it. Instead, I sent it to every homeowner in the community group chat. The video spread like wildfire. By noon, everyone had seen the blue Karen. People couldn't stop laughing. Memes started. Someone edited Titanic music over it. Karen stopped her inspections overnight. But karma wasn't done yet. Her blue-stained hands didn't come off easily. For days, she walked around with turquoise palms, a permanent reminder of her nosiness. The next HOA meeting was the quietest in history. No clipboard, no friendly reminders, just silence, and a faint blue tint still lingering on her cuticles. That day, I realized something important. Sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting or fighting back. It's letting karma do the painting for you.